Greetings, salutations to Safe to Surf International and first-time viewers. Welcome to this Midday Power Surge, your spiritual oasis on this pilgrim journey. I'm your host, Andrew Henriquez. Welcome one, welcome all to this Midday Power Surge. Before I begin, I want to say this. I believe this presentation will find itself in maybe top 5 of all time of my presentations for Midday Power Surge. Why do I say that? The content is startling as these current events are fulfilling end-time Bible prophecies. I don't say that lightly, nor am I using hyperbole. You'll see for yourselves very shortly. The studio has, it's filled to capacity right now. People are here just for this one. I've been planning to address this topic for quite a while, but the time was not right. But since this current event has transpired, I've been impressed this morning, early this morning, to address this lesson today. It is going to be a life and death matter. Number one, I'll be addressing Candace Owens meets Erika Kirk. And this is surrounding the controversies, which I will get to shortly. Secondly, I'm going to be addressing fatal flirting among Seventh-day Adventists. Thirdly, I'm going to be talking about this topic here. Will Seventh-day Adventists betray a particular race of people, separate themselves from this particular race of people, and then renounce the 7th-day Sabbath? What am I talking about? You have to stay tuned for this one. Without further ado, let's get right into it, shall we, my friends? The protest continues. All right. So here we have trending. Candace Owens meets Erika Kirk. They had a private conversation, and this is regarding the conspiracies and the conspiracy theories surrounding the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The very day of that private conversation, Candace Owens posted these shorts. Watch carefully.
4.5 hours later, I'm alive. I'm totally fine, and I'm sorry. I was going to do a show for you guys this evening, but I am truly exhausted. Very productive conversation. I asked every single question. I mean, from Egyptian planes to Turning Point USA Faith, and I was very surprised by some of the answers that I got, and I think they were also very surprised when I shared certain intel. This probably should have happened a very long time ago, but I wanted to let you guys know that I am alive, and I will have the full rundown for you guys tomorrow of what transpired. And yeah, I think it was definitely a very big step in the right direction. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay. And of course, she went live yesterday, which was her tomorrow. And please, before I go any further, do not scroll past this video. Do not click off this video right now. You might think that you know where I'm going in this topic. Believe me, by God's grace, you don't know. Watch carefully. This is a slow burn. When Candace Owens went live yesterday, I actually perused that lesson that she presented. I'm simply going to focus on one point. And here it is. Candace Owens made mention of the first issue that launched this public back and forth controversy between her and Erika Kirk. In Candace's own words, she stated it was when she actually said that Charlie Kirk was converting to Roman Catholicism. Here it is.
I shared with them that I really felt like I was under attack for telling the truth from the very beginning, like casually, when I mentioned the Catholicism thing. Like, what was that about? I was like, look, I say something in a tribute to him. Alex Clark and Andrew Colvett then jump onto a podcast and they're doing that weird interview, which is clearly aimed at me. And they've teased the interview as like aimed at me, but they never say my name. And that to me felt like it was the first, I don't know, the first bit of mud that was slung. Their answer for that was, hey, that was a really crazy time. A new system had to be put into place. And by no means did Erika give any person the authority to go out and say that the Catholicism thing was a lie. It kind of turned into this big thing. Whatever. Okay, that kind of obviously was not the meat of the reason that we wanted to sit down.
So in her own words, the first quote, the first bit of mud that was slung. Charlie Kirk converting to Catholicism. Now, watch carefully what she had said in September 15, 2025, after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Here's the clip.
Was definitely on the brink of changing some of his perspectives. And I can tell you factually, Charlie was praying the rosary. Charlie was going to mass. One of my last conversations with Charlie was me joking with him saying, just make the last step, okay? You are, I said specifically, you're too smart to be a Protestant. Just take the last step, Charlie. He says, ha ha. He was speaking about Mary and...
You're too smart to be a Protestant. Come over and join Catholicism. My friends, here is where the proverbial airplane is going to take off. This is where we are going to go deeper in the issues, looking at current events fulfilling end-time prophecies. We are going to go very deep right now. Notice carefully. Why is it that Candace Owens was willing to step away from Protestantism and join the Roman Catholic Church? Let that sink in your mind for a minute. Think about it. It's going to be answered shortly. Number two, we have on record Charlie Kirk's statements protesting against four things. Number one, the papacy. Number two, Mariology. Number three, transubstantiation, which is the Eucharist, the Mass, etc. And number four, he stood for the 7th-Day Sabbath from the book of Genesis and did not speak and call Sunday the Lord's Day, didn't call Sunday the Sabbath. Four things. Now, friends, listen to this now. Candace Owens publicly renounced anyone labeling her or calling her Judeo-Christian. Why? I'm not a Protestant, or I'm no longer a Protestant, because remember, she was, and then she went into Catholicism. Number two, do not connect to me, Judeo-Christian. Here is the clip.
He says, ha ha. He was speaking about Mary. And typically when those steps start taking place, you stop referring to yourself, as I did, as a Judeo-Christian. Again.
Now, beloved, we have folks right now in the studio, and later on, they will be giving me their feedback. Here's the first question. Why is it that publicly Candace Owens despised the term Judeo-Christian? Now, there are many reasons for this. I can read her mind, but I'm going to state one that she has publicly said. Number one, it is because of the actions of the Israeli leaders with the war in Gaza.
Talking about, at the moment, a death toll of under 50,000. There's no comparison in the amount of dead people compared to the Holocaust. Do you understand why?
But it is a Holocaust, what's happening.
Well, is it though?
Yes. Well, the
Because
burning
I think
bodies,
language is really important.
I think language is really important as well, and that's
People
why
say Holocaust, genocide,
I
and so
think
on.
what's happening is a Holocaust. The burning bodies of the children that I'm seeing every day, and we spoke about this a little bit on my show, but I have recognized that the ability to see this stuff every day has transformed my opinion. Maybe the numbers wouldn't have gotten so high if people had spoken up when it was happening at the very beginning during World War II. And so I want to use my platform to say that I believe that they are intentionally executing a Holocaust. I think Bibi Netanyahu, there's tons of evidence, and obviously the Western media is not reporting on this, but the corruption trials that are going on with Bibi Netanyahu pertaining to October 7th and him editing the transcripts and the prior knowledge that he knew is now becoming extremely pertinent. It is a question as to whether or not he allowed the attacks to take place, essentially to then be able to go in and to commit this Holocaust against the Palestinians.
Let's continue. And as a result, Candace Owens publicly stated, I am Christian and I will not honor the 7th-day Sabbath. I am Christian, she said, I will not honor the 7th-day Sabbath. Why is that so? In her mind, since she despises what the Israelis, the Jews are doing over there in Gaza, she doesn't want to associate herself with anything that is linked to Jews. Watch carefully here. Here it is.
But that's not it. Okay, we're going to get more because Erika also sat down with Glenn Beck of Blaze TV. Now, again, this is all a part of a PR blitz for Charlie's upcoming book on honoring the Shabbat, which I'm not going to be doing because I'm Christian.
Have you ever wondered, how will Matthew 24, verse 7 through 9 be fulfilled? I'm going to read verse 9 for you. In Matthew 24 and verse number 7, after speaking about the famines, the pestilences, the earthquakes, and then the wars, verse 8 says, all these things are the beginning of sorrows. And verse 9 says, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Have you ever wondered what will precipitate the world hating God's remnant people, SDAs, all faithful seventh-day Sabbath-keeping people? Here is one tool the devil is going to use. And I'm going to precede that statement with this. Are Seventh-day Adventists well known in the world? No, they're not. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read a statement later on which says, our people are insignificant. We're not well known. Look what the devil is going to do now. Here's the point. If Satan can stir up the Israelis, the Jewish people, to create various atrocities in the world, and then get the world to despise them, to hate them, and to hate what they stand for, to hate their religion, to hate their day of worship. Then next, Satan now can take that same group of people and turn them against Seventh-day Adventists. Because USDAs also promote the 7th-day Sabbath, just as the so-called Jewish people. Look at what they're doing. We despise them, and it must be based on their religion. Hold on. We despise them, and it must be based on their religion. And since USDAs uphold the same day of worship, we are also going to despise you as well. And you could see how what is happening in Gaza and how the world is responding to it. How Seventh-day Adventists are going to be implicated, directly, indirectly, will be despised, and are going to be hated. As a result, we have right now Candace Owens and others fleeing from Protestantism, fleeing from Judeo-Christianity, fleeing from the 7th-day Sabbath, Watch carefully. In volume 5, page 546, this is the statement I just referenced. Our people have been regarded as too insignificant to be worthy of notice, but a change will come. The Christian world is now making movements which will necessarily bring commandment-keeping people into prominence. Every soul will be tested. Okay, friends, I'm going to augment the point I just made with this. Have we ever seen in history where Satan used a particular religion to cause people to reject God? Let me ask it this way. Is there a historical record where Satan used the wickedness of the leaders in a particular religion to cause others to become infidels and reject God's 7th-day Sabbath, reject God's commandments, reject true worship? If you think you have the answer, put that in the comment section, those of you who are live. I'll scroll down. If you think you have the answers, not Constantine, that I'll be focusing on right now. Give me one more. Beloved, it is the history of the French Revolution. Do you remember what they did in France? Legalized atheism. What led to that? A particular religion. I'll get to it. Did they legalize sodomy? What led to that? The wickedness of the leaders in a particular religion among the nations. Stop right there. Did the leaders of that particular religion destroy kings of various nations and even killed millions of God's people in various nations? You can see on a smaller scale what they are blaming, accusing the leader of Israel to be doing right now. It is so clear if you can see it. What happened in France again in the time of the revolution, 1780s, 1790s? Did they actually take the calendar and say, no longer are we going to have 7 days in 1 week. We'll now make it 10 days per week to destroy the weekly cycle of 7 days, to destroy the Sabbath. Which religion did that? Great Controversy, page 281. It was the papacy. It was the papacy. Let's make sure we have that. It was the papacy that did that. Look at the second sentence. After referring to the papacy, instead of holding the masses in a blind submission to her dogmas, the papacy, her work resulted in making the people infidels. You see that? And revolutionists. Watch this now. Romanism, they despised as priestcraft. They beheld the clergy as a party of their oppression. The only God they knew was the God of Rome. Her teaching was their only religion. Watch now. They regarded her greed and cruelty as the legitimate fruit of the Bible, and they would have none of it. You see, my friends? So I just gave you a historical record to confirm everything I just said. Now, my friends, take a look at this Pew Research. Here's my third witness. This is Pew Research platform, Pew Research Center. Prominent, and it is acceptable that what they say is gospel. Hear what they say here. How Americans view the Israel-Hamas conflict 2 years into the war. And if you scroll down, it says 60% of the people now hold an unfavorable opinion of the Israeli government. 60%. So once they reject what Israel is doing, the wickedness based on the media, now the people are now rejecting everything that is associated with the Jews. and now it's the Sabbath. So could it be that Satan is all behind this? Let's get the world, first of all, let's inspire, impress the minds of the leaders to create barbarism on other people. The world will not hate them. And once the world hates them, then we can use the same hatred against any other people who are similar to them in religion and worship. And who would that be? My friends, there are other communions that keep the 7th-day Sabbath. But which group, which denomination does the devil hate above all the others? It's the remnant. Revelation 12 verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus. This is one of the ways how Satan will turn the whole world against the SDA people. With that in mind, understand right now, as they despise the Jews, they are not despising the 7th-day Sabbath.
Talking about, at the moment, a death toll of under 50,000. There's no comparison in the amount of dead people compared to the Holocaust. Do you understand why?
But it is a Holocaust, what's happening.
Well, is it though?
Yes. Well,
See, I think language is really important.
I think language is really important as well, and that's
people
why
say Holocaust, genocide,
I
and
think
so on.
what's happening is a Holocaust. The burning bodies of the children that I'm seeing every day, and we spoke about this a little bit on my show, but I have recognized that the ability to see this stuff every day has transformed my opinion. Maybe the numbers wouldn't have gotten so high if people had spoken up when it was happening at the very beginning during World War II. And so I want to use my platform to say that I believe that they are intentionally executing a Holocaust. I think Bibi Netanyahu, there's tons of evidence, and obviously the Western media is not reporting on this, but the corruption trials that are going on with Bibi Netanyahu pertaining to October 7th and him editing the transcripts and the prior knowledge that he knew is now becoming extremely pertinent. It is a question as to whether or not he allowed the attacks to take place, essentially to then be able to go in and to commit this Holocaust against the Palestinians.
Now, I'm going to say this, friends. Here is where I'm going to transition and now address everything we have spoken about to Seventh-day Adventists. Let's talk about the Holocaust, shall we? Let's talk about the Nazis. Let's talk about what happened during World War II and leading up to it. Let's talk about Seventh-day Adventists on record publicly supporting Hitler. Let's talk about how Seventh-day Adventists betrayed Jewish-born Seventh-day Adventists, born into the Jewish race, and became a baptized Seventh-day Adventist. In the Holocaust, the Jews were hated and persecuted. Listen to the juxtaposition now. Today, the Jews, Israelis, are being hated, but the media says they are the persecutors. Let's talk about how SDAs during the Holocaust separated themselves from all blood-born Jew, betrayed them, and how Seventh-day Adventists rejected the 7th-day Sabbath. Do you know why? Because Seventh-day Adventists in the Holocaust saw what was happening to blood-born Jew. And they said, if we publicly keep the Sabbath, what is happening to the blood-born Jew will happen to us. And they rejected the Sabbath. Does that sound as if it's going to be repeated in the last days? Let's talk about SDAs today. Will they betray Jewish people? Will they separate themselves from Jewish people? Will they also renounce the 7th-day Sabbath? Will they? Will I? Will you? Beloved, let's get to the screen right now. And before we go there, preacher, based on how you all respond to this lesson today, I'll share more in a subsequent presentation. I'll watch and engage the comments, and then by God's grace, I will make that determination. This is irrefutable history. I'm going to quote right now from the Seventh-day Adventist Church's main website, Adventist News Network. Headline says, German, Austrian churches apologize for Holocaust actions. Watch carefully. Seventh-day Adventist church leaders in Germany and Austria have released a declaration saying they deeply regret any participation in or support of Nazi activities during the war. The church bodies honestly confess a failure in following our Lord by not protecting Jews and others from the era's genocide widely known as the Holocaust. And of course, how many millions of Jews were exterminated during that 12-year period. Now, I'm not going to give various minute details. I'm simply going to read for you statements that jive with my point. How SDAs rejected, betrayed blood-born Jews and rejected the 7th-day Sabbath because they feared the extermination that was brought upon blood-born Jew will affect them. A paramount regret, the statement indicated, was that German and Austrian Adventist congregations excluded, separated, and left church members who were of Jewish origin to themselves, so that they were delivered to imprisonment, exile, or death. Under various racial decrees, some Adventist congregations expelled members of Jewish heritage. The main Seventh-day Adventist church in Germany was also banned under the Nazis. However, a quick reversal by the regime led to relief among Adventists, but also a level of cooperation with the government that was unhealthy. I think our leaders were afraid to lose the official recognition of our church. So what caused them to betray blood-born Jew? In the flesh, of course. What caused them to renounce the 7th-day Sabbath? Lord have mercy. To make sure the structure, the organization, headquarters in Germany, in Austria, in the old world, remain intact, to make sure they had government approval to exist. At the same time, rejecting their brothers and sisters, allowing them to be exterminated, and also turning their backs against God, God's truth, and the 7th-day Sabbath. Let's continue here. We went several steps further and published things that really were anti-Semitic. We went out of our way to show our loyalty to the German National Socialist era government. That was the reason why we excluded and disfellowshipped Jewish-born Adventists from our midst. If a local church had not done this, the Nazis would have closed the church, Lord have mercy, taken the elder to prison, and it would have meant the whole church would be forbidden. Again, based on how you all respond to this, I'll give you more later on. Let's continue. We renamed Sabbath school to Bible school. Stop right there, preacher. We renamed, You know, Sabbath school here at Safe to Serve, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Some local churches, 9:30 to 10:30. We renamed Sabbath school to Bible school. We did not use the original term because it meant taking a risk. We were in danger of being confused with the Jews. Do you see why this is relevant right now to us? Since Charlie Kirk's assassination? The Jewish Sabbath. You see it now? They aren't saying the Bible Sabbath. They aren't saying God's Sabbath. They aren't calling it the biblical Sabbath. They aren't calling it the Christian Sabbath. They say the 7th day of the week, commonly called Saturday, is the Jewish Sabbath. See now? In the Holocaust time period, Seventh-day Adventists distanced themselves from the Sabbath. They did not want to have anything in common with blood-born Jews. You get the point. We were in danger of being confused with the Jews. By refusing to call it Sabbath school, you make a statement. You make a little distance between yourself and the Jews. So I'm wondering right now today, if more people in the world begin to have great indignation against the Israelis for what they're doing in the Middle East, if more people join that cry and protest, and now they begin to further despise the so-called, watch now, Jewish Sabbath, how will SDAs respond? How are we going to respond? What if the world again should begin to exterminate those Israelis in the Middle East, and the Sabbath becomes a public scorn? Will SDAs all of a sudden begin to relinquish the term Seventh-day Adventist, Sabbath keepers on Saturday? Do you know that history may be repeated? And that's why today I said to you, this lesson, it's vying for top 5 of Midday Power Surge presentations. Let's continue, shall we? Sadly, in spite of all the praise and official stance, by the way, stop right there now. I have just transitioned. What I covered aforementioned, that was from Adventist News Network, the official publishing arm of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And that was the Inter-American Division. Now, I'm going to quote from Andrews University publication about the same time period and the same barbarism and how SDAs responded. In this article, remember, we are told the flagship university of the SDA movement is Andrews University. Let's quote. The headline says, Fatal Flirting. Do you see where my headline comes from? My title? Fatal Flirting. The Nazi State and the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Let's continue. Sadly, in spite of all the praise and official stance that the SDA Church took in favor of the government, the Nazi state did decide to ban the Adventist Church in 1933, November 26. This ban lasted until December 6, 1933. And that's the reference. Continue, Bluebird. The Adventist Church's pro-government PR campaign became much more aggressive after the ban. It went on to support the notion of the Völkisch, I believe that is the right pronunciation, the Völkisch state, which means the Volk concept. Let's read that. The acceptance of the Volk concept, with its racial undertones, its ideology of ethnic purity. You see it now? Ethnic purity, and its implicit proscription of the Jews due to their racial heritage was accepted by the Seventh-day Adventist Church as part of its gospel proclamation. You think that is something? Watch the next paragraph. Have you ever heard of what is called sterilization, eugenics? Watch this. Furthering its compromise, the Adventist Church also agreed with the forced sterilization policy, also known as the eugenics laws. Watch carefully. However, in response to this resistance, the government responded with an educational campaign that used Adventist journals to defend the new eugenics laws. Sterilization was only a first step in this racial attack. The next step involved the elimination of those who were deemed to be hazardous elements to the German gene pool. Startling, right? I'll give you some more. At this occasion, I may once again assure you that the members of our denomination stand loyally by the leaders of Nazism, stand loyally by the Führer and the Reich. Lord have mercy. The leadership of the SDA denomination considers this as one of its most notable duties. Noble. My friend, they did all of this. Why? To escape persecution, betrayed the blood-born Jews, rejected God's 10 commandments, the gospel, the 7th-Day Sabbath, to preserve government connection, fatal flirting. These demonstrations of loyalty, however, did not satisfy the Nazi state, and its pressure grew even greater on the church, especially in the issue of Sabbath keeping. Do you see it now? The church appealed to its long championed principle of religious freedom to no avail. In the Rhineland, members were pressured to work on Sabbath. As a result, the leadership of the Adventist Church recommended that their members should submit to the authorities and not bring any problems among themselves or the church. You saw it right. It was repeated during the pestilence 19 pandemic, the very same principles. That means the SDA leaders did not learn the lesson. So since this wicked history has been repeated, the question is, will it be repeated again in these last days? Work on the Sabbath. Do you see what's dangerous to take any step towards church and state union? Because the state will require more and more from you to violate God's principles and then to desecrate the 7th-day Sabbath. No wonder Sister White wrote in Volume 5, page 103, no man can tell how far he will go in sin when once he has yielded, his mind, his heart to the power of the great deceiver. You will never know how far you will go to damnation by taking one step in that direction. Give up the Sabbath to make sure that your organization receive benefits and permission to operate. That's why I have said the SDA organization cannot go through as it is when the mark of the beast is enforced. Because if it bows the knee to the state, God rejects it. The organized body, the system of it. And if it does not bow to the system, the state will decimate it. Continue here. This is Elder Jan Markuson. Look what happened in the former Soviet Union. 2 clips, and then my point is going to be reiterated.
And what happened was some faithful Adventists in the General Conference came across a file, a hidden file apparently, in the General Conference. And it was a file of correspondence that had gone on between people in the Soviet sector, the Eurasian division, and the General Conference. And I'd like to put this on camera if we could.
Sure.
This is a letter. It'll be on your left-hand page. It is a letter by Vice President Jan Paulson, or excuse me, to Jan Paulson from Alf Loney. And it is a letter on General Conference stationery. And the answering letter, by the way, that answers it is over on the right-hand page. It's from Jan Paulson back to Alf Loney. And this is dated 1982. And I would, with your permission, I'd like to read something because it's a letter about Michael Kulikov.
Sure. This is December of 82, and the other one's January of 83.
Okay, so you can see that one is an answer to the other.
Yes.
Okay. Dear Jan, I know that you are aware that the question of children attending school on Sabbath is the problem in the USSR, and that it is this matter which more than anything else causes separation among the brethren.
Okay, let's roll the last of this clip.
Is this matter which more than anything else causes separation among the brethren. All registered pastors must send their children to school on Sabbath.
Wait a minute now. That's too powerful. We got to comprehend that a minute here. There's no way in the world that a Seventh-day Adventist is going to send his child to school on Sabbath, so he must be talking about non-Adventist pastors doing that.
Well, Brother Jan, you said that no Seventh-day Adventist was going to send their child to school on Sabbath, and I agree with you.
Now, did the registered pastors agree to send children to school on Sabbath?
That's what it says.
With that in mind, I simply did a research. Look at what I uncovered. You remember, those 2 clips you just watched showed how we responded in the Soviet Union. On the screen, this is the Holocaust in the Soviet Union. Top left of the screen, Illinois, the state of Illinois, Holocaust Museum and Education Center. What happened there, friends? It's clear that in the Soviet Union, the powers that be also extinguished and exterminated blood-born Jew. So SDAs who had something in common with the blood-born Jew and the Jewish religion had to separate themselves from the Sabbath and show to the state, listen, we have nothing in common with the Jewish people, and we will prove it by desecrating the 7th-day Sabbath. We'll work on the 7th-day Sabbath. Is that history going to be repeated? On the screen right here, top left of the screen in the red box, it says, yes, the Soviet Union was officially anti-Zionist. Is that term trending today? Is that trending right now, my friends? It is trending. And that's why pastors, elders in the SDA conference and in the lines of independent ministries that don't focus correctly on current events fulfilling end-time prophecies will cause their followers, their constituents, their members, their family, their relatives to be found unprepared in the last days. Let's get back to the article from Andrews University. It says, as the state regulations against religion increased year after year, the church obeyed them closely in order to avoid a second banishment at the hands of the regime. In a letter to the General Conference president, the leaders over there in Germany, watch carefully, expressed this sentiment of self-defense by rationalizing that they had followed church policy. They had maintained the structure of the church. Stop right there. So what was the defense for the fatal flirting? We preserved the organization in this territory. Continue after the red words. And also their defense was that they had to adapt to living the commandments according to the times they lived in. You see, my friends, times changed, but God's word didn't change. Times are changing, but God's words stand forever. Malachi 3:6, I, the Lord thy God, I change not. Psalmist says, forever thy word is settled in heaven. And many more scriptures. Let's continue here, because I want you to give your feedback. But before I do that, let me say this. Do you know something else is trending? And that is the Council of Nicaea. Emperor Constantine's time period is also trending right now. Leaders of various religions, Catholics, Orthodox, Protestants, are saying Trump is our Constantine. Jonathan Berry, Kevin Roberts are on record stating, we want a Sunday law in America as in the days of Constantine. Well, since Constantine's era is now trending, what happened in the Constantine's era must be repeated in America. Look what happened in the time of Constantine. It says, Constantine enacted a Sunday law. I won't read that. You can pause the video and read that. Next paragraph, last sentence. The pagan festival came finally to be honored as a divine institution, while the Bible Sabbath was pronounced as a relic of Judaism, the Jewish Sabbath, and its observers were declared to be accursed. Look carefully now. This is Constantine's era. Anybody who accepted the Jewish Sabbath were put to death. That's not all. Next paragraph. First sentence, we ought, therefore, to have nothing in common with the Jews. Do you see it now? Reject Judaism. Have nothing in common with the Jews. And as a result, in Constantine time, they enforced and exalted Sunday worship by law. I wonder how a change will come in America. Do you know this administration and many Protestants and even Catholics love to say, oh, we cherish our Judeo-Christian history. Oh, we love Judeo-Christian tradition in America. That is repeated not infrequently, but ad nauseum in America's politics and from pulpits, from Maine to Florida, from Florida to Texas, Texas to California, California to Washington State. We uphold and cherish and magnify our Judeo-Christian heritage. You watch. You see how quick they drop Judeo and just say Christian. And on this point, from this perspective, exalt Sunday worship by law. and give no toleration for the 7th-day Sabbath. Here's why. Because it's already on record that Seventh-day Adventists who refuse to honor Sunday, who refuse to renounce the 7th-day Sabbath, one, they are a cult, and two, by doing that, not holding on to Sunday and renouncing the 7th-day Sabbath, they are destroying America. It's right here. The Washington Post. It's all connected now. It's all connected. What's your feedback, friends? First of all, before I go to the phone lines, any feedback here? Friends, remember Peter. Let's come back to the closing scenes of Christ's earthly ministry. Why did Peter deny Christ 3 times and almost lose his salvation? Because he saw the death penalty that was about to be executed on Jesus. A public assassination. A public execution. And he saw, if I were to publicly hold fast, acknowledge Jesus, what he taught, what he stood for, his fate will be my fate. He denied Christ 3 times. What happened in the Holocaust by SDAs? You see it? Do you see it? Number 2, at the first advent of Jesus, did the Jewish people despise Jesus? Were they anti-Jesus? Why? Number 1, were they against the way how Jesus said the Sabbath should be kept? Jesus wasn't anti the 7th day of the week. He was against the way how the leaders had added to his word to cause people to reject the 7th-day Sabbath. He came to put the biblical Sabbath in the right framework. He never promoted Sunday worship. He never promoted the first day of the week. He never. And that's why yesterday I challenged Candace Owens, Erika Kirk, Jonathan Berry, Kevin Roberts, President Trump, J.D. Vance, the Vice President, Kevin Roberts, Russ Vogt, Steve Bannon, Stephen Wolfe, and Paula White, and all the others. Prove from the Bible the first day of the week is God's Sabbath. From the Bible that the first day of the week is called the Lord's Day. It's not. Change before it is too late. Come back to my point. Back to my point. What happened to Jesus? How they viewed him. Look, he is not keeping the Sabbath the way how we want. Kill him so we can preserve our nation. John chapter 11, verse 47 through verse 53. It's better for one man to die than the whole nation perish. What did SDA do in the Holocaust? First Advent, Holocaust. What will happen in the last days? Secondly, did the SDAs in the Holocaust? It's better for blood-born Jew to be exterminated than for us to lose our flirting with the government. Come on, feedback. You know what? We are going to need some microphones in this studio right now. But anyway, let's go. They what now? So the preacher man said, in the time of the Holocaust, SDAs placed a thus saith the state above a thus saith the church. A thus saith the Lord. A thus saith the state. A thus saith the church above. A thus saith the word of God, the Bible, and the spirit of prophecy. Any more comments before I go to the phone line? Anything else? Come on. So it was not, it was a voluntary alignment with the church with the state to preserve themselves from being persecuted. And they adapted the command, they modified, altered God's law, God's commandments to the times. And yet they would turn around and accuse the papacy of thinking to change God's times, and laws. Daniel 7, verse 25. Yes. I'll come back to you. Yes. And Paul in Acts 21, compromising with the Jewish leaders in feast keeping, Nazarite vow, to preserve himself and to win over his brethren. But what happened? It was a fatal flirting. It says that led Paul to meet his untimely imprisonment and premature death. Fatal flirting. Yes.
Many of the church members were going along with what the SDA church was saying in error. Just like the Old Testament kings, many of them led the people into idolatry.
I can't keep repeating this. Y'all need to get your microphones. So the common people in the pew went along with the apostate leaders. Is that what you're saying? In the time of the Holocaust, as it was in the Old Testament, many kings joined affinity with pagans and false religions and led the common people into apostasy, a fatal flirting. Many lost their salvation. Last one here, yes. To prove loyalty to the state, Holocaust, that the people, the leaders, distance themselves from the faithful ones in the pew who were standing for God's truth. You aren't Caesar's friend if you don't go along with the agenda. You aren't Hitler's friend if you don't go along with the agenda. You aren't the donkey party's friend or the elephant party's friend in the time of the pestilence 19 pandemic. Do you have one, preacher?
Yeah, and the bottom line, the people compromised by choosing safety over faithfulness. Acts 5:29.
Acts 5:29. The people.
It's better to obey God rather than man.
It's better to obey God rather than men. And the people chose what, brother? They chose compromise. Safety, preservation over faithfulness. Let me get the folks online. Next time you get some microphone, please. 689-777-5198. 689-775198. Call in and give us your feedback from the lesson today. Friends, the topic we're covering today. Our caller, hold the line, caller. Friends, the topic we have covered today, media of the beast does not like it. Various words have been mentioned today that may cause media of the beast to put a stranglehold on this presentation, to suppress it. What you can do to assist in this getting out is clicking the thumbs up button, liking the video, so the algorithm will send it out. Comment after once the video is posted. Engage with it. Share it. Share button, click the share button. Thumbs up, click it. So the algorithm will send it out. We can't have truth placed on the shelf. It must get out. So friends, I thank you for what you did the last videos. It went out. Let's do the same thing for this one. Okay, caller, you're live. What's your feedback from our topic today?